Hey y'all, I'm Dana Brooks of Facing Brooks, and this is another episode of the Empower Hour brought to you by the Empower Plant. I am so excited today because this is an exciting topic that we have never covered before, and everybody wants to know the answer to this question. How can I make a living in the arts? And everybody's like, well, I can influence, I can YouTube, I can do these sorts of things, but no, you can really get very serious about art as a career and as an educational pursuit. And we are honored to have Audra Pittman with us today. So welcome, Audra.
Hey, y'all.
There's so much to say about her. I've met you around town, of course, and you're beautiful girls. You remind me so much of my law partner and his family with their beautiful girls.
All the basics, yeah.
So I've not actually gotten to know you at all, but I see why. You're on the move.
I'm busy.
So welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Now, I introduced you in the promo. You're Vice President of SCAD Atlanta, and I'm a super fan of SCAD, as is our producer, Whitney Morris. But tell us a little bit about what you do now, what your background is, because I know you've been involved with arts councils, all kinds of stuff. So welcome, and tell us about yourself.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. No, my story goes up and down and around. It's not this straight linear, like, oh, you do this and this, and it's just all over the place. I'm currently Vice President for SCAD Atlanta, Savannah College of Art and Design. So we have locations in Atlanta, started out in Savannah in 1978 by our founder and president, Paula Wallace. She's still president. She is so I'm really here just to learn from her pretty much. She's the brainchild behind all of this. And we also have a location in Lacoste, France. So should any of you decide you need a retreat out in the south of France, Provence, get yourselves over there. We'll take care of you. We can do creativity, leadership, whatever you need. Like, I think we need to do Empower Hour over in Lacoste. Sound good?
Vive la France.
Yeah, France is open. They're open. So we can go over there, but we have a summer abroad, study abroad year round over there. And so, yeah, my task is I'm in charge of running this campus. We have about 3,000 students here, about 10,000 in Savannah, and we're growing and been around, 40 plus years, 50,000 alumni. So it's really exciting. Yeah.
I'm excited. I want to get back to that 100%, of course. Let's just take a minute to observe Audra's background.
Oh, okay.
As we talk about the arts, we see my white background. And we see the art person's background. No, let me welcome a couple of people real quick. I want to welcome Kimmy Hogan. Thank you for making it today.
Yes, thank you so much.
What do you think of when you think of a career in the arts?
I think I know nothing about it at all. I think it'd be fun and exciting and probably stressful, and I'm excited to learn more.
Me too. Whitney, you are an artist. Are you on the show or are you behind the scenes?
Yes,
today?
no, I'm on today.
Okay, good. She'll sneak on me. I'll see her, but nobody else will.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, this is my child. And she gets so tired of hearing this story, which is one of the motivations I have for continuing to tell it. I always tell people, Whitney always wanted to be a doctor. And I always said, I'm sure that's a lovely, thing to do, but you're very talented. You have an eye, you're an artist. I had to be taught any kind of artistic thing that I ever learned how to do. And I know teaching helps. We'll talk about that. People think you have to be the best there is right when you go into school, but that's not true. But Whitney had a natural talent. So you and I toured SCAD, as you recall. What do you think of when you think of SCAD and careers in the arts?
Well, I mean, it's an impressive campus. One of my favorite places we went to was the interior design studio.
Oh, yeah.
Old train depot. Loved it. It was gorgeous. So we checked out the whole place. And I, at the time I was on the FSU College of Interior Design. And it was just such a spectacular experience. And you could see their art wasn't just what you think an art school is, where you think it's amazing art, right?
Pottery, drawing, sketching. Yeah.
When you're in interior design, it doesn't have to be like that. But of course, it's a very competitive program there as well. So I'm sure Audra will tell us more about it. But I was very impressed in our tour there.
I love it. Whitney, who's doing our drink? Let's see who else we have. We have Kia Thomas is on.
Hi guys.
Hey, Kia. All right, I'm trying to look at my view. Here we go. There she is. Welcome, Kia. Do you have any interest in the art? Now, you are a communications director with us, and I always consider that a form of art. you're trying to package something and present it in a way that gets an intended result. But what do you think of when you think of a career in the arts?
I think it's beautiful because I think I look at myself as more of a right brain person, kind of with some of the left brain in there. And I feel like those who use that left brain side, they're amazing people. Even that backdrop that's in the back, like who would think of that? To do something like that, I would have to literally sit down and be like, okay, where are the symmetrics in here? Like, I'm going to draw this perfect circle. Whereas, the arts is telling you, be you. Mm-hmm. So I think that's amazing. And then, like you stated, with the whole writing process, that's another whole process. I didn't even think about it that way. That you definitely have to be more diverse in ensuring that you're communicating with others diversely. So I think that this is beautiful. Just like Kimmy, I want to learn more. This is awesome.
Yeah. And art is its own language. It's not something you're necessarily going to be fluent in because it's so personal. Mm-hmm. That's what I love about it is, you can see 10 people can see the same piece or hear the same music or poem or whatever and receive it in such a personal way. I mean, how many times have you ever heard music and you're like, that's my song. Yeah, it's hip or whatever, but that song speaks to me. Those lyrics speak to me. That music speaks to me. So I think it's very powerful. Who's handling the drink of the day?
Oh, I guess it's me. Or actually, it's Brandon. It's our social media manager.
What are y'all having?
First, Kim Crawford this evening.
Tell me what you're having, Dana.
The male Kim Crawford. Now that we know.
I got to sign up with my.
There's a lot of play on the Empower Hour.
Right.
Oh, hold on, Whitney. Are you mailing mine? Is my wine coming?
I know.
I got water.
I need to start texting
y'all.
We got to work on our back house, our back office.
Yes.
Audra, how did you decide this is the path you wanted to be on? How did you even pursue this? Were your parents encouraging of you, or were they saying doctor, lawyer, NDG?
Well, so I come from a family of educators. My dad was actually in insurance and corporate. My mom was an educator, works at University of Connecticut. And she was actually, my dad played saxophone, I learned. My mom was a music major. Like, they always encouraged like a love of the arts, support of the arts. So they encouraged that. I just thought it was just kind of, a natural thing. Like, oh, I won an art award in 8th grade. Okay, let's keep taking art. Let's keep doing it. And then, I went to the University of Connecticut and I studied illustration because in my mind, I was going to be a children's book illustrator or I was going to design fashions in France. Like, it was like either or, like completely, like whatever. But, and it was interesting because that was, back in the day, kind of pre-Google, before you could look up like what are careers in the arts. And so, I just thought like you're an illustrator or a designer, like that's it. And I remember I taught at I think it was my junior year of college. I taught the summer program. I'm like, wait, I could be an art teacher. Like, I could order art supplies and play with art supplies all day and work with kids. Like, I can get paid for that. Okay, I will be an art teacher. So I actually went and got my master's in art education at Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore. I taught middle school art, y'all. Like, okay, everyone, that phase. You remember middle school, like, oh my God, like, yeah, it was crazy. Like, all the hormones and everything. It was an experience. So it was fun, taught middle school art. And the funnier thing is, at the same time, I also ran track in college. So I ended up coaching track when I was a middle school teacher at Morgan State University. And I decided like, wow, like higher ed is where it's at. I could have conversations with these people and talk about art. So that's when I decided actually I wanted to go to Florida State. And I got my doctorate in art education, arts administration, and art museum education, because I wanted to learn the business side of the arts, museums, nonprofit world, all of that. So that's when I came down to Tallahassee, studied, and kind of the rest is a little bit history, but it's still like topsy-turvy. So
yeah. Let me get around to the panel real quick, because I have a million questions, but I want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity too. Kimmy, Kia, Whitney, what are you thinking? And by the way, Kimmy may have to leave early and Carrie Roan wants to get on, but she's going to have to jump on late. So we'll just roll with it. But Kimmy, what questions do you have for our expert here?
Well, Audra, I was looking so I went on the SCAD website because I was thinking, just like you said, Google, I was thinking, what are all the different pathways? What are the things we can study at SCAD? And I was really interested in the fact that there's gaming stuff.
Oh,
right?
yes.
That's
huge. It's so big. The gaming industry, and it's actually being in Atlanta, it's $1 billion industry. And a lot of times people idea of gaming. They're like, oh yeah, these like 18-year-olds cooped up in their parents' basement. I mean, no, like the average age of gamers is actually 30 and above. Think about your phone. Think about the things you probably, Candy Crush, Words with Friends, all these things you even just use on your phone. But there are esports teams. We actually have an esports team. People are sponsored in esports, like just like we think athletics, like they're getting scholarships, they're getting sponsored. So gaming, there's so many ways to think about it, from playing the games, but also the people who develop the content for games, right? And so we have that. We also have interactive design. So, it's kind of fluid. It's like whoever designs the games, they might also do vis effects for movies. There's a lot of different ways that this goes. And, and that's part of my job, is really educating parents who are like, my kid wants to go to art school, and are they going to have a job? And I'm like, yes, we have a 99% job placement rate within 10 months of graduation. Wow. That or pursuing higher ed. So we are so like hyper focused on the careers in the arts, and not just like, oh, you like art, it's great. We're like, no. Okay, we got to
get at SCAD. SCAD's serious.
Oh, so serious.
Yeah, it is SCAD serious. Yeah, here's the other thing. I don't mean to cut you off, but not everybody's going to get SCAD. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to be able to afford SCAD. Now, if you can get into SCAD, take Dana Brooks's advice and pay for it. Find the way, pay for it, because
we're not even as expensive as some of the top liberal arts schools that you think. I know a lot of people. I think the misconception is they go around, they're like, it looks beautiful, so it must be expensive, like that kind of thing. And we're actually on like the mid-tier range for tuition. It's about $35,000. And I'm like, some private schools, elementary schools, like you're paying that. So I think in the value return on investment,
it's there. It's 100% there, but we're back to the initial thing, which is you probably ain't going to get in. So what can
you're looking at me?
No, I'm not looking at you. No, I'm looking at the people who, but I will tell you this, Whitney and I went there and we toured the place.
Yes.
And I will be honest with you. I respect a lot. I respect design, of course, but they're like, oh, well, we've got fashion and we'll make dresses and shoes and purses. And I'm thinking that's kind of frivolous. I don't know why, I just did. And so I went to that school and I'm like, oh my goodness. There's quite a bit that goes into designing a pair of shoes, a handbag. And I actually ended up liking that the most.
Listen, I spend most of my time on the fashion floor. Believe me. Like I'm like, what are we making now? Is it my size? Like what's going on? Yeah.
And if you've ever seen The Devil Wears Prada, when she dresses that girl down about that sweater in Casual Corner in azure blue, I was like, oh, I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm spoken to. I've been chastised. But that whole school, there's all these different things. There's, like you said, there's the design, interior design, there's the gaming, there's fashion, but there's so many other things. We went into this one lab. I mean, it was basically just pure like somebody's garage. They're making all kind of stuff, the saws and power tools and everything about it was cool. But and here's the other thing, the people who were touring with us, Whitney remembers this, we were on tours with people who already had their PhDs, who were trying to get into SCAD.
Oh yeah.
We had people who had already had very successful careers, lawyers, whatever you want to do. And they're like, I want to get into this because this is a very serious school about it. So I want to hear more about SCAD itself and all the different types of things. Because people, when they think art, they think drawing, sometimes
fine art gallery.
That sort of thing. But boy, design covers a whole lot of stuff, and you're an art and a design school. So tell us about SCAD, and then I want to ask you, what if we can't get into SCAD? What are some other options?
Okay. Yeah. So, SCAD, again, focus on creative careers, and creative careers are growing. And I think we all saw with this pandemic, there's two things. You saw that content creation was key. Everyone's eyes were on this computer, right? And those who had content, who had something to share, visually interesting, intriguing, those were the ones who won, right? A lot of people were able to start selling themselves. You're worried about, oh, I got to get this internship with this company, but start your brand now. You are your brand. And that's what I tell students, prospective students, people thinking about a career in the arts. Become your brand, sell yourself now. There's no need to wait. There's no need to wait till you graduate or get into school. With Instagram, Facebook, we're Zooming live, like all these platforms are crossing over.
TikTok,
and I'm even learning more about TikTok. you really just have to be willing to learn. And I think with any person that's successful in the arts, you have to be willing to learn, know that you don't know everything, know that what you like, maybe someone else doesn't like. So you really got to know your audience. And the arts is just like business, right? You know, you're not going to be a law firm for everyone in every case and everything. You have your niche audience, you have your target audience. Here's what we do it well, focus on that. So, you know, it's the same thing with here. But, you know, a lot of times we get students at SCAD who come in, we don't expect them to know, oh, I want to be an industrial designer and design cars for Porsche.
Yeah,
you know, like I'm still figuring out, there's so many careers. So a lot of times we come in, we have a foundation program, and even students who come in, they're like, well, I'm here just to study architecture, but I don't do all that free, like this painting here, like that's not me. I'm very, you know, but we have to get them into that to break the habits of, you know, I have to do everything very linear, because you never know what kind of space you're going to be in and how things shape up. So, you know, 40+ degree programs, y'all, and growing, we kind of meet the needs. Google approached us and said, hey, we need more people experience and user experience and immersive experience. So we created a degree program for them. You know, a lot of people, other universities were like, well, that's going to take years. And we're like, no, we have this course, we're here with this, boom, we're done. Let's go. So we respond to really what the industry partners need, like a Google, any Fortune 500 company you can think of. We have students working with BlackRock, and a lot of people think like, well, BlackRock, they're a global financial institution.
Right.
We had a SCAD Pro, it's our custom consultation kind of company where we partner industries with our students in the classroom. So they get the experience before they graduate. And I remember one of these projects where an animation student in 30 seconds did what a 500-page manual could not do. They're like, we need this person right now. Like, we need you to tell our trainers and our consultants what this is in that animation. So, you know, the arts intersect every industry. I can find a connection and we can play a little game like, oh, well, an artist, designer, communication arts person did that. So yeah.
I love that, because like, who reads a manual? You know, I don't want to, if I can avoid it. And what if you don't have it? You know, somebody can go online and somebody's probably done a tutorial or a video or something like that. And I'm amazed at the people who find a way to get paid on a kind of amateur basis. We interact with a lot of big influencers, I guess is what they're called. And these are people who have, you know, all their fans. And if they cross promote you, you know, you can have that synergy of cross promotion and that sort of thing. And they find a way to monetize that, I guess, by getting sponsors. But I always worry about anybody. I don't care if it is a doctor, a lawyer. I don't care if it's an accountant. Well, accountant not, but contractor, whatever. There's so many people who have a talent or are trained in a particular skill or educated a particular skill, but they don't know the business aspect of what to do with their skill, education, or talent. And so that's why I think people really need to give consideration to a degree in the arts. A lot of people think I need to get a degree in something else and then arts or something I pursue on my own. But you need to know how to make money doing whatever it is you do. And that's why a formal education in the arts, I think, is beneficial. And again, you know, you can find the money, and as cheap as money is right now, use it to further yourself and pay dividends. Well,
invest in yourself.
Yeah, Lord. Let me welcome Carrie Roan. Carrie,
hi, Audra.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Nice to meet you. I'm so excited about today. Sorry, I was late.
Oh no, we know you had some stuff going on, but what are your thoughts when you think about careers in the arts? Because we were talking about this all week long. We were all so excited to have you here.
No, when you said this week, I was like, yay!
Yeah. Number one, I think you need to influence Whitney Morris to get a career in the arts because she's so super talented. But I just think it's really hard. I mean, I wish I had somebody to talk to. I wasn't very talented growing up, but I wish I had just alternatives to know, like, you can have a successful degree in the arts and here's alternatives for you, you know?
Y'all, it's so interesting. I mean, advertising, we have all these, you know, communication arts, luxury fashion management. Danny, we're talking about earlier about fashion, just the luxury fashion management, not necessarily designers, but the people managing these, you know, brands and these companies and how that translates. I just talked to a graduate from 2020, animation major. He's got a show. He gathered other alum together. He created his own company, Lava Moon Films. he's about to pitch this story. And we're like, okay, well, how can SCAD invest in that to help you get out to like the Turner and the Netflix and whatever? And I don't know if y'all, everyone's been kind of Netflix binging. One of our graduates, Madison Hamburg, he did Murder on Middle Beach. I don't know if y'all saw that, but yeah.
Right? You have to watch that.
You have to watch that.
That is the craziest show. That was one of those murder things that I've seen. It goes on to all these little, you've got to watch it, Carrie. It goes on to all these little rabbit trails and it comes back.
It makes you look at families all totally different. You're like, what? So it's Murder on Middle Beach. HBO picked it up. You can check it out on HBO Max. But, basically in this set in the trailer, when Madison was a student at SCAD in Savannah, his mother was murdered. And so the whole documentary is about, he's trying to find out what happened.
He makes it about his mom's murder, and he goes on. There's all these things that are going. It goes on from just her and a bunch of her fellow friend housewives doing some pyramid scheme that almost got him killed. I mean, there's a million things. This is the most fascinating thing in this world, and this kid from SCAD does it.
From SCAD, and so when he graduated, President Wallace, she created this alumni atelier program and invested in it to help him get this out to where it needed to go, and it got picked up by HBO. And he's a great storyteller. Had his classmates working with him, so that's just another example of like. Just start your work now or tell your story. So, yeah.
You know what it makes me think of? Trial lawyers are storytellers if they're any good at it. That's what they always tell us to do. In fact, there's all kinds of seminars we can take on how to tell the story, the story. And they always tell you, tell it to a non-lawyer, whatever case you're trying, tell it to a non-lawyer. If you can't get it out in a few minutes and they don't get it, they're not on your side, then you're in the weeds with it. You gotta take a back seat. But there's so much of that seems natural for us and what we do. And then if you think about it though, let's think about it. John Grisham. He started out as a lawyer and he used that storytelling to become a prolific, very famous, obviously successful author. We have a judge here in town, Judge Terry Lewis, recently retired. He's got several books. So it's kind of a natural fit. And I think so many people who make their living, get their paychecks through ways that are not of the arts and that are not creative. I think they almost have a craving. I think that's why so many people I saw at SCAD were trying to restart a career or do a second career.
Oh yeah, we've had, that pandemic shifted a lot of people's thinking. We really have seen an uptick in people starting a second career. A lot of times people think, I gotta be 18 and whatever. I'm like, no. We have people like who finally said, okay, I've always wanted to do interior design, and they take the full 4-year program. They're like, I want to get accredited. I want to get my licensure. I want to do all the things, and it's worth it. That 4 years, you can take e-learning. We also have e-learning too. So, if you just want to dip your toes, try a class, figure it out, and then just build into it. But, what I love about SCAD is, we're on the quarter system. We're 10 weeks. 10 weeks goes by like that. You take a couple quarters, boom, move on. But, back to your storytelling, we have creative writing, we have screenwriting, and a lot of people don't understand, like, we're Atlanta's big film industry, Georgia, all of that going on, but you need good screenwriters, right? There are creative writing, there are people that need to tell the story. And at the end of the day, everything with visual arts, communication arts, it's all about telling your story. And that's another thing that we focus on at SCAD. We just started this past 2 years, SCAD AMP, which is amplify your voice. And to really help our students understand that, listen, you could be sitting on an airplane and you have 1 minute to pitch the person next to you, like you don't know who you're sitting next to. And you have to be ready to show your portfolio, talk about your work, what you're excited about. I think Fran Drescher visited us and told us like, that's how The Nanny came to be. She was sitting next to her producer and said, I got this story, here it is. And boom, The Nanny happened, like you just never know who you're sitting next to. You got to be willing to network, sell yourself, even though it's a very personal thing for a lot of people. Like their art is like, well, that's my baby. I don't want someone to say they don't like it. Well, it's not for everybody. If they don't like it, move on to the next person. Someone will, and someone will.
That's right.
So
yeah, you got to believe in yourself, and you got to find a way to get okay with rejection and not take that personally. And I know I don't know if that can be taught. It should be, but just throwing yourself in the deep end is a big part of it. I want to talk about some of the comments we're getting. Everybody's loving you. They're loving this guest. One person, her daughter's starting SCAD in the fall.
Yes. Okay. Give her my email address. Listen, I'm like Mama Bear. I'm like, I don't care if your baby's in Savannah or Atlanta. They can take classes everywhere, by the way. So they can start a quarter in Savannah, come up to Atlanta for a quarter, whatever. But I'll put my emails, just A Pittman.
Cool.
Yeah. A Pittman at scad.edu. They can email me. I'll take care. Like all my
All right,
friends kids
Cheryl.
come up here. I'm like, that's my baby now. That's my baby.
All right, Cheryl, you got that?
Yes.
This is a handoff to another mama.
I got you.
Handoff. Okay, good. I'm loving it. Let's see, Kia, what are you thinking as you're listening to this? Getting a little bit more into it.
Yeah, this is great. Of course, listening to my husband talk about gamification all the time. Of course, I know about how Drake has his even gaming group that he sponsors.
Yeah.
But one of the things I wanted to jump into was your Sweet Pea Creative
Yeah.
Studio. What
Yes.
fueled
Oh
you
my God.
to do that? You know, we were looking into that and I was like, yeah, this is like a Pinterest.
Yes.
So-
Okay. So basically, yeah, that was my obsession with Pinterest. So this is like, oh my God. So my stories, again, like I told you, it's all over the place. So, you know, went to grad school in Tallahassee. I met Sean Pittman, and this is like so embarrassing right now. If y'all know Top Flight.
Tell people who this Sean is. Tell people who the Sean Pittman person is.
Okay,
That was
attorney Sean Pittman of Pittman Law Group. Sean Pittman, okay, I affectionately called him Mr. Tallahassee because I'm like, you know, everybody in Tallahassee. Who are you? When I first moved to Tallahassee, I'm like, oh, that's the mayor, that's this. I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
Why do you know all these people? But we were friends for years when I was in grad school, and I moved to South Carolina, got a job, and I was like, man, he was a great, like he was always, you know, oh, we're gonna date, and I'm like, oh, whatever. Anyway, but I'm like, and my mama used to always joke with me. She's like, and he would like woo my mom, like, oh, your mom's in town, let's all go to dinner and all this stuff. Fine.
Smart.
And she was like, okay, that's the guy you need to marry. That's the kind of guy who's very persistent. And I'm like, fine. And it wasn't until I moved to South Carolina, I'm like, oh, he was a great guy. Shoot, you know? And anyway,
Do I still have his number?
So we started dating long distance. Then I got a job in Savannah. I was actually teaching in Savannah at first. I ran a master's program down there. Within that time, we got engaged, got married, got pregnant. And like, I was like, oh, whoa, this is a lot to be doing. And we're not in the same city. So I moved to Tallahassee. I told President Wallace, I'm like, I love SCAD, but let me go like get my household started and figure all this stuff out. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do here in Tallahassee? What am I going to do? Like, I just had like, and I just decided to go with my passions, right? Like, so you go with the thing what's the first thing you do when you wake up? What are you obsessed with? What are you looking at? And it's Pinterest. Like you said, Pinterest. I'm always on Pinterest, always doing something. And I remember it was kind of like when painting with a twist was coming around, and I would start to meet people. They're like, oh, well, how do you make this? Or Audra, can you make me this? I'm like, if y'all just all come meet with me, I will show you how to do this. Like, let me just show you. So at our house, we have this kind of like carriage house, guest house thing. I just started hosting like these little Pinterest parties, and like, okay, it was all the things I like to do anyway. I would go to Michael's art supply store all the time. Like, I'm a teacher by nature. So I set out the supplies like it's my classroom, invite people over, bring your wine, bring whatever, bring your friends, and like, boom, just did it. And like, Sean was like, I don't think this is going to take off. Like, I don't understand what you're doing. Like, this doesn't make sense.
Oh, he was so wrong. He was so women
It was
were
so
itching
funny.
for that.
And I told him, and I said, the minute I knew it was successful was when I started getting people booking parties who I had no idea. I'm like, I don't even know anybody in this group. Like, so I would start having groups of people like, I'm like, well, they're like, I heard from my friend who I work out with, and she told me, and this, and can we do, I'm like, sure. So that's how that kind of came about. And it was like, I was doing my commission paintings, but it was just like a fun party space, like painting with a twist, but Pinterest with a twist, pretty much.
Right.
Okay.
So
So it could be painting, it could be crafting. it
make
could
wreaths,
be
make holiday
whatever.
things. Oh, we had vision
Yeah.
board parties. We had,
Love
I had a law office, we won't name it, call me in town for like a company holiday ornament decorating kind of. So
Oh my God, can we do that? We need to do that.
I'm too busy
Yes.
now. I can give you some
We
people.
did do a Basic Brooks painting with the twist once. That was fun.
Yeah.
We did. I had to miss it, which is probably just as well. I'm not. No, you just
I
said
did too.
something that caught my eye or caught my ear. You said you're painting. So tell me what you do as
Oh
an artist.
Lord. So, I mean, I really haven't done as much now, but like I said, I study illustration, and my favorite professor, she's like a watercolor illustrator. So watercolor was my thing, and watercolor, I did.
That's so hard.
That's the one thing I'm so impressed by.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing to me.
It takes some measure, control, letting go, letting God, like all the things, like, oh gosh, like, kind of thing. But, I do illustrations, or friends ask for certain things, or like, I need a gift, or, I do that kind of thing now. But It's just, for me, like the creative energy, what I get is like watching other people like, wait, what are you doing? And what are you making? Or, how about you design this? Or, kind of working with other students and seeing what they're doing in the classroom. Like that's kind of where I get my creative energy and stuff now. And I picked up needlepoint during quarantine. That was like my latest.
Oh man, roses and all.
Like I'm like a grandma.
I was about to
Like,
say,
okay, needlepoint, get the cats, all the things. So yeah, needlepoint was the thing I picked up during quarantine because it was like controlled, right? Like, quarantine, we're like, everything. I need something like I could just pass the time. And that was it. And I found this whole, subset group. It's crazy.
Rose, our drink of the week person, usually she's our law partner, and she's getting ready for a trial. And so no one really wants to be near her right now.
She's on afraid of her.
Okay. So we're not going by her office. We're not really saying anything. But no, she does a bunch of old school crafts.
Yes.
She's a crafter. A lot of people don't know that about her. Well, first of all, she's just all about the arts. She watches these obscure B movies. She'll get hooked on some stop it. Obscure director you've never heard of. I'm gonna go mute, somebody else talk.
Hey, Audra, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
And I'm sorry if you guys already covered this before I got on, but to me, the arts and film and TV, that's all very male dominated industry. So I'm really interested to know like how your female students kind of overcome that burden, not necessarily a burden, that's the wrong word, but how they overcome that challenge.
Yeah.
And then the second part of my question is, how did you overcome that challenge? Because not only are you in a male dominated industry because you are high up in the admin of SCAD, which is a university, an educational atmosphere institution, but you got like a double whammy. Number one, it's male dominated to be TV, film, arts, graphic design, all that stuff. And then number two, you're at an educational institution.
Well, I mean, it doesn't hurt that our university is founded by a female who really understands and appreciates the value of the female voice. I mean, kudos to President Wallace. And if you really look at the atmosphere around here, we're all about a positive oriented learning environment, right? And so everything that we do is supposed to be about that, about nurturing, not like, in the tradition, like fashion school, like you learn because it's like, no, we're here to learn. So we encourage, we build up, we like help, we support even after they graduate. So that's like our motto here, which I fit in with, working that way. But, the other thing I think that we do here to encourage, students who are thinking like film and TV and, producers and directors, we want them to be the future creative leaders, right? So we want to nurture the future female director. And it's like, okay, what do you need? We'll bring in industry people who have defied the odds and have, like for instance, Ruth Carter, right? Costume design. She won an Oscar for her costume design for Black Panther. We have an exhibition of her work featured here. She comes in, speaks to students, and she is just so relatable and so like amazing. She's like, oh yeah, I'll pop in the class anytime. I'm camped out right now at Tyler Perry Studios working on Black Panther 2.
Just hanging with Tyler.
Casual.
Just hanging with
Tyler, hanging. You want to bring some students? Yeah, send them over. Like
hanging it with Megan Harry too.
Oh my Listen, I tell people, I said, when we get Beyonce, if I get Beyonce here, y'all, I'm dropping the mic. Like I have done my.
Yes. Oh, you're done. You retire. You retire once you know Beyonce.
It's like, we try to create an environment where we bring people like that who nurture, who encourage, who support, and we make those connections. And, we tell the students, don't wait till you graduate to make those connections and network. Like we're here right now. We're bringing them to you. Even during the pandemic, we created a series called Guests and Gusto, where we brought people in, Probable on Zoom into classrooms where they could like ask a question. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm, asking a question of this like world-renowned fashion designer and he's responding, or I'm asking for an internship. And they're like, yeah, sure, call my person. Like, no problem.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think it's just, about being positive, being focused. A lot of times, we talked about art and people getting discouraged because someone didn't like it. You can't take everything personal, no matter what industry field you're in. You have to have an objective look at like, why is this person telling me this? Well, maybe it's something that will help me further my career or be a better listener or be a better leader to people who I work with. Again, like I said, I don't know everything. Everyone, great leaders admit like when they're wrong or like, oh, I don't know that. Let me go find it out. So that's how.
Yeah, and you got to be careful whenever you listen to someone. If one person shoots you down, if you're not on your, if you're not really got your game together, you can really take that as no one will like my work.
Right.
No one thinks I should do this. I have no business pursuing that. And I always try to encourage people to be very careful the weight and space they give just one person in their life. And I also encourage people, be careful what you say to people, because you might be that one voice in their ear that makes them go in an entirely different direction. So words have power, and your influence has power. But I wish we could train more people of all ages to just, accept no. That just means no to that person right now. They might tell you yes next week when they're in a better mood. I mean, it really can be nothing more than they just had a shitty morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're just letting you feel the effects of it that they're experiencing. So I really like that energy that you're putting behind people. Whitney, what are you hearing when you're listening to all this? What messages are you receiving about careers in the arts?
Hint, hint.
Ma'am.
Come back to school, girl. I'm gonna hook you up with admissions. Listen,
She won't get out of school, what am I going to say? What am I
look-
going to say about a kid being in school? But go ahead.
I need to look more into it because, I always, I'm scared. Obviously, there's some kind of fear there of like, you're, especially when you look at your portfolios that they send prospective students.
But you know what? But we
And
send,
I get so much better when I do more. I just need to do more of it. Like that's the problem, is I'm just not doing it enough. So
And that's-
what were we saying, Dan?
that's the thing with here. And we tell people, even when they're applying for any program, right? A portfolio is encouraged for like scholarship, but it's not necessary because you're coming here so we can teach you, right? And no matter what, I think everyone has that imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm not, why am I here? Why am I in this room? I had it. I'm doing Leadership Atlanta. I'm like, I don't belong here. I don't know.
Right.
These people, and my husband had to remind me like, dude, you're in the same boat they're all in. Everyone's trying to aspire. Everyone's trying to learn and grow. So you belong there. And that's, again, Dana, but the importance of surrounding yourself with appropriate voices, your friends, the partner you pick in life. Like, make sure you're around the people who believe in you and not like, well, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, you shouldn't do that, because they doubted themselves. So I think anything with school.
This master, I'm like, like I thought I was gonna. I used to kind of got into doing art for nurseries, so I would like do an oil paint.
Yeah, that was her little niche. Yeah.
And then I was like, I could make this a thing, because so many people were like, will you do an elephant for my kids' nursery?
Yes.
Whatever. And I was like, obviously I would like to try different subjects, but since this is so popular, I could like make friends and do all this. But then I'm like, no, I'm just gonna get 2 jobs and then start a master's program instead.
I'm going to go the harder route.
It's the harder route. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you think about things like that, and people will go like, oh, make me this, or you do this. And people think it always needs to be a side business. It always needs to be something on the side. It can't be something I can support myself doing. What encouragement would you have for people like that who just think this is always going to be a side gig? I'm never going to get paid.
You have to treat it like a business, right? You have to dedicate that time. A lot of times people think, oh, you're an artist, you have fun, it's passion. You wake up in the middle of the night and you work, and it's like, no, you have to treat it like, okay.
It's JOB.
Yeah, from 8 to 5, I will paint. I might have lunch for an hour, but I'm also going to be doing my social media marketing, and I'm going to be doing my branding and developing a contract, and, treat it like a business. Christopher John Rogers, I don't know if y'all know him. He's a fashion designer. He's a graduate of SCAD. He did that latest Target collaboration. Target collaborates with like Lily Pulitzer.
The prairie dresses. Is he behind the prairie dresses?
With the prairie dresses.
The bright color, the like huge shoulders, the flowy. On my Instagram, I have 10 of these.
Like the 90s retro, the retro 90s.
Talking about it, so he's doing something right.
So Christopher John Rogers is a perfect example. Like, he graduated about 5 years ago. He worked for like Tanya Taylor. I think he worked for Diane von Furstenberg as well. And
love her wrap dress.
And he would go to work, and then from 5 to 10 o'clock would work on his company, his design. Started his own company. All his company are SCAD grads, and they all did major in fashion. So he got like the graphic designer, the advertising, the creative writer, the social media marketing and management person on his team, trusted them. Then he became a Council of Fashion Designers of America winner, future fund, where he got $400,000 to invest into his company. And I mean, he's blowing up. This guy is like, he's on the LVMH like finalist, like but he committed. And if you look at his story, he's like, I didn't treat it as like, oh, I could do that. He's like, no, this is my goal. I have a specific vision, being in New York, being a brand. And like, he's got every celebrity. Beyonce has his flower pants, like in one of her latest 2 posts, you know, and I'm like, dude, you've reached it.
Okay.
Beyonce's latest post, like, you're done.
You have arrived.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Beyonce on the Empower Hour. Whitney,
Right.
Please call me back for that, you know. But I you know, anyone who's thinking about a side business, you know, think of yourself as a consultant, like, you know, contract out, like get long-term gigs, just like any lawyer would do, just like Sean does, you know, he answers an RFP for this, you know, answer the call for a company that's looking for someone to do painting, design, and you have to think kind of outside the box, right? A lot of times people think, oh, I'll paint, I'll work for a gallery. No, you got to think about like the BlackRock who needs to outfit a whole new building, or, you know, a Bank of America or a local branch of something. Like, you got to think outside the box about who you could influence and who you could help out, or a startup company who's like, we need a designer for our brand. We'll put you on and say, hey, put me on contract for a year. I'll do everything for a year. Or, you know, think in the mind of like a business person, and you can make that money. And slowly but surely you prove yourself, you build your portfolio, you know, you'll be doing it. It's just a matter of putting in the work, focus, vision, commitment, all of that.
Yeah, I think you need to treat it like a job and treat it like a business, be very serious about it. But if you really think about it, this is the one thing you can do that doesn't feel like a job. It's not an 8 to 5 at an office working for someone else. It's amazing what you can do, how much more energy you can put into a project when you're doing it for yourself versus for your boss. So I think if people would just not treat this as, you know, give the short shrift like it's a side job, it's a hobby, that sort of thing. No, it's your career. This is something you want to do. Now, we're blessed at Florida State to, or in Tallahassee, we've got FAMU, we've got Florida State, we've got a great foundational college in TCC. And we have the motion pictures, the film school, we've got fine arts here. We've got so many things, and I've always felt very fortunate to live in this city that embraces the arts like it does, especially as small as it is. So what do you tell people who can't get into or go to afford SCAD, whatever? What can they do that will help give them the foundation they need in their own communities, or maybe through online learning?
You know, I think online learning, I mean, I'm even taking LinkedIn courses. There's so many certificates and programs and things that you can do. There are actually, and even kind of when I was doing Sweet Pea, there are a lot of artists who do like online courses, right? So they might do a 10-week intensive, you know, or go study like at an art retreat, go for a weekend, go to those things, and you really can look them up. There are a lot of things going around locally, internationally, nationally, whatever it is. But look up the artists who like and mirror their kind of careers. Say like, wow, she's really doing it. I like her work. I like her style. Ask to be, you know, can I ask you some questions? Can I, you know, can you be a mentor? You never know. Like, some people are like, yes, I would love to help you out. Or
most people are
video assistant, or, you know, you just always be willing to learn, pick up something new, try something new. And the other thing I would tell people is like, also, again, build your brand in the community. When I first got to Tallahassee, I didn't know anybody. I would look to RJ Gillum. I'm like, how do you get on all these boards? Like, how do you do that? And my husband's like, okay, you watch, you get on one board, you'll be on every board. I was like, oh,
that's exactly right.
You know, but you got to start somewhere. And that's how people kind of got to know me, as like, oh, you're the arts girl. You know, they may have one arts friend and I'll be that friend, you know, they'll call on me, you know. So I think it's a matter of networking. Networking in any industry is so key, and being open to building relationships with people you normally wouldn't know. Ask someone to coffee, get to, you know them. Hey, can I help you in I make paintings, or I design clothes, or I design interiors. Do you have anything? They're like, well, I don't, but I have my friend, they're building something, you know, maybe let me connect you with them. So build that trust with people if you want to build a business in the arts, with galleries, with, you know, and have a great reputation. Don't, you know, people like people that are nice, that they like to work with, you know,
that they can count on, be reliable.
Listen, show up on time, early, whatever, all of those things. So those are all characteristics that would make anyone successful, I think, in life, but especially with the arts, you know, just kind of study and learn and see, you know, who's doing something that you really appreciate and feel like, okay, they got it, and learn from them.
Carrie, what are you thinking the more we're talking about that?
Well, I mean, it's so impressive because it's such a scary field for so many people to go into. And, you know, what Whitney said really hit home, that, you know, she has some kind of fear to go into it to overcome. But I love what you said earlier about the fact that, you know, a woman started SCAD, and the way that you guys are approaching things is very all inclusive and supportive. And I think as more and more women are running businesses and educational institutions and whatever, you're going to have that different kind of approach where it's a supportive and positive and inclusive and helpful environment. I just think it's in our nature. I think as women to support each other, it should be in our nature. And I just love that. I love hearing that about SCAD, and I hope other universities follow suit, because I don't think it's like that everywhere, right?
Oh God, no. And we're like, listen, I tell you, we're not like any other university. I mean, I've worked at a couple, you know, and everything, you know, in higher ed is like, you know, 200 years old and this is how we've done things. And, you know, when people went to college, at first it was to study law and medicine. Like, that's it. Like, study law or medicine, you know, and now to think of an arts career is kind of foreign to a lot of people. And they're like, I can't wrap my mind around it. But I'm like, listen, the phone you use, if you use an Apple versus a Android, you know, it's all about design. It's about using
some designer did that. Somebody designed your coffee pot. And the Keurig, wasn't the Keurig design at SCAD? I thought I learned that.
Listen, probably, and I don't even know yet. Like, there's so many. Okay, Chick-fil-A drive-through, you know, with the little thing, that how efficient it is. SCAD Pro project. You know, Chick-fil-A's headquartered here.
That makes sense.
You know, and that's how we do our orientation. That's how we do our SCAD days. We check people in on the iPad, like, okay, we're gonna put you here. Like, it's those things that make life easier that a designer, that a good designer helped kind of make happen. So
it's
you know what, I don't know if Dana knows this yet or not, but we have been asked to support, and Kia can give us a little bit more information on it. But I was trying to look up the name of the woman. We've been asked to support a women's art project and women's art exhibit up in Quincy. And I think that's really cool that we've been asked to sponsor it. So it's Judge Terry Lewis's daughter is involved in it, because I play soccer with her husband, and he asked us to get involved because he knows we do this in Power Hour. So that's really cool that we can help support women artists and women only art exhibits and be a sponsor of that.
That's awesome.
I'm so down with that. And I tell you another thing, it reminded me, Carrie, when you said that, I don't care where you live and how big it is, there is an art element to it somewhere. Somebody somewhere is turned on about the arts. In Tallahassee, we've got this great Railroad Square area.
Adam's doing amazing things over there. Yeah.
You know, there's galleries, Lemoyne. Oh my goodness, we've been blessed to have them in our community for so many years. But there are people just living among you that you don't even realize, know people, have connections. And honestly, I've never really met someone who's successful in any area who isn't eager to help other people come up. It's almost like it goes hand in hand with success. The more successful a person is, the more they tend to want to help other people. So to me, I'm excited about that for the Quincy community. But I'm excited about this community that we live in and how much they embrace the arts. And the arts encompass so many things. Like I said, it could be, you know, it's theater, it's performing arts, it's visual arts, it's athletic. You know, there's so many things that are quasi-athletic, quasi-arts, you know, ballet, dance, all those things.
It was time and commitment and practice. You know, I tell people we have an equestrian center here. They're like, wait, horses? Like, yes. You know, we have golf, tennis team. Like, and a lot of time, I mean, I was an athlete. I ran track at UConn. You know, a lot of people think, oh, you're either an athlete or an artist. But I'm like, no, a lot of us have that discipline that to, you know, keep at it, to work on something, to, you know, you can become the master of anything. What is it? You put 10,000 hours into it, you're a master or something like that. So I think anything that you put your attention on, that you practice, that you focus on, you can do whatever you want. It's just getting over those hurdles. Like, okay, you know, the imposter, or I'm not good enough.
Most of them are of your own creation.
Yeah.
Most of those hurdles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever shown my work to somebody and they said they hated it. So
No.
unless they were, well, actually I lived up in Providence. So RISD is up there, obviously.
Oh yeah, New Englanders, we're a little,
Yeah, I had a couple of former students there, and they didn't have great things to say about the program, unfortunately. But I did get a little criticism of my art from a student there, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, thanks for imposing your own insecurities on my work, but thank you, bye.
Right.
Okay.
I'm like, well, I'm not professionally trained, and you are, so.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about is you can't let somebody like that get in your ear. You can't let them change, you know, how you think about yourself. And it certainly shouldn't be allowed to discount all the other positive feedback you've gotten.
Yeah.
Just because you revere that person.
And Whitney, what's cool is that, you know, I tell people we have students here. We have this, I don't know if y'all know this singer rapper, The Dream. He attends SCAD. Actually, he's here. Yeah. And he's studying fashion. And
isn't he married to Alicia Keys, or is that
no,
that's Swiss Beats?
That's
Swiss Beats.
But they
Yeah.
work together. They all work together.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting about him is the dream, you know, he's in his 40s. I'm like, you're done, your career, you're good. But he's getting his four-year degree in fashion. He's taking foundation classes, and he's looking at me like, Audra, like I gotta take this 100 level drawing class. Like I'm like, but listen, would you have put a Grammy in your still life drawing, you know, at 18 versus now?
Right.
So it's like, take your lived experiences. You're going to have more appreciation for something now than you probably did at 18. Because, you know, a lot of us, you're like, okay, I'm just going through the motions, go to college, you know, da, 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 da. But now that you're like, this is what I love, and now I can focus on it and bring what I've learned and bring a totally different perspective, you know. And he's like, he doesn't need to go to school, but he just understands, like, you know, if I want to study fashion, I need to learn every aspect, color theory, perspective, all these things, you know. And sometimes he shows us stuff and I'm like, well, you could do that. But other times I'm like, well, man, where did that come from? You know, so everyone's in the same boat. And, you know, it's just a matter of what you do with it. You know, do you continue to like, okay. And Whitney, that person who ever had criticism, you're like, oh, but what are you doing now with your art? Like, what are you doing?
Literally, I think
Where are you?
help set of events. I don't know. It wasn't anything in the arts. I know that. I'm not upset about it. I just wanted to mention.
But you know, those things stick with you. I mean, I've had my, you know, like, oh, well, okay, you have an opinion on that, but you know, doesn't pay your bills. So
Right.
Yeah, that's.
I went to school. I went to paralegal school with Greg Philbin, who was I think he's the original bassist with REO Speedway. And he kind of checked out, had money and wanted to invest it in real estate. And he said, I want to know about a little bit about contracts, a little bit about stuff or whatever. So he was just, you know, playing around like that. But it's funny, it's kind of like a flip. You know, somebody in the arts who decided they needed to learn a little bit of business and contract law or whatever. But, you know, he didn't, you know, you think he let it get in his head that he's, you know, junior college with a bunch of teenagers? No, he doesn't care. You know, you do you, boo. But I love it. And I love the idea of people who just say, I don't want to be a damn, you know, whatever anymore. I don't want to be a CEO anymore. I want to live, you know, the limited time I do know I have doing something I thoroughly enjoy. I wanted you on because I wanted everybody to understand that you can make a living doing that. You're not trading prosperity for poverty because you enjoy and want to share your love of the arts. That's not the way. But since this is the Empower Hour, and we do talk about work-life balance a lot. How are you managing it? You live in two places. What are you doing? And what you're willing to share with us, of course.
Oh yeah.
She's driving a lot. She's driving.
I got a lot of Sky Miles, my Amex Sky Miles. I'm like gold, getting it platinum, all the things. So
you will see her in first class. She is bumped up all the time.
Move me up, upgrade me, give me the red. But, you know, again, like I said, it really takes having a partner like my husband, Sean. He is so supportive and he understands my dream and my trajectory and what I can do and where I flourish. Like he, you know, he sees me at work. He's like, okay, you're in your element. Like he loves to see me like just, you see how I'm like hand animated, all the things like, this is what I love. And he's like, I support it, you know? And he's like, let me find some clients in Atlanta. Like, let's do this, you know?
Yeah.
So like my birthday was Tuesday. He was up here, you know, he's had meetings and he's like, okay, I'm flying up for dinner. What we doing? You know, like that kind of thing. And, you know, the girls were up here for camp. They had their thing. Oh God, this place like Udazoo is like a drop-in fun place for them. And I tell them, I'm like, listen, your friends have beach houses. We have Atlanta House. Okay. You know, we're going to make it work. And it's just like a matter of the perspective, how you shape it. You know, he tells the girls, she's working hard. She's fulfilling her dreams. She's doing what she loves. And if you work hard, you can do whatever you love and enjoy work and enjoy what you're doing. And so, you know, that's what it takes. And there are hard days. They're like, oh my gosh, you know, but it's like, and really the funnier thing is I'm meeting a lot more people who are like, oh yeah, my husband lives in DC. I live here. Yeah. You know, we alternate and, you know, you can't be discouraged by people who don't get it because you're like, well, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it or you know, able to get it. Like you just have to do what works for you, your family, your core, your friends, you know, and again, surround yourself with people. Like I'm celebrating my birthday on Sunday again. Like all my friends were going to dinner, you know, like you you make it work, you support each other's dreams. And so, you know, we look at like, okay, how do we make Atlanta work? And, you know, Sean's building his practice so he can get to the point where, you know, they take over that and he's up here and we're all, you know, so you just got to take advantage of opportunities. I tell people, I ran to a former student and she's like, I remember you told me this, y'all, this is like 2007, to always say yes, work it out later.
Yes. That's
Just
great.
say yes. Yeah, like, yeah, I don't even know what I'm gonna do, but yes, and we'll make it work. You know,
I love
the worst
that.
that could happen. So
Yeah, to me, if something turns you on even a little bit, if you're even a little bit interested in it, say yes.
Yeah.
You know what? Because no is always available.
Yeah.
You don't have to start with no. No's always there whenever the yes doesn't work anymore. You can say no, but at least just say yes, because that could all the doors. What now?
Lane, like I'm the jack of all trades. You have to pick a lane. Gotta find out what.
But you know what? But that wasn't my lane. Like I would have traditionally done like, okay, go be an art teacher, then be a principal, and then do, you know, and I'm like, let me go back to grad school. Let me figure something out.
Well,
I don't know.
Next thing you do in that, you're an administrator. You're not in art at all anymore.
And I would have thought, you know, I thought I was going to run a nonprofit. My friend, she was in mental health in Baltimore. I'm like, oh, we'll run a nonprofit, like an art therapy, something. Totally didn't do that. Didn't do that at all, you know? And then I went.
But it's an option for you.
It's an option. You know, I had the skill set, and that's what my husband had to remind me. He's like, you have the skill set. You just, you know, just accrue the skills. Like, you just don't worry about anything and just do what you love. And like, this is it. Like, I'm here. So I'm like, I'm fortunate. And, you know, you can't take things for granted, like that you're able to be in a position where you can make a choice and be around people that you like to work with. And, you know, just don't take things for granted. And again, just always remind yourself or make that vision board and say, this is what you said you wanted, and here it is, you know?
So Audra, where are your kids in school?
So they're over at Gilchrist. They're at Gilchrist. They were at McClay with the basics. So we know Allie and everybody, all the girls. And it was funny because we see the bus. They're like, oh, the basic Brooks bus. There it is.
What I love about this though, what I love about what I just learned about you, it's so, I mean, you can never conceive, probably even 10 years ago, that a mom would be pursuing her career in a different city and the dad would be in the other city with the kids, going to school, pursuing his career. And it's totally working for you guys. It works for your husband. It works for you. You're successful. He's successful. And your kids are learning from it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can do whatever works for you and whatever works for your family and makes you guys happy. It doesn't have to be the mom at home with the dad away in a different city pursuing his career. It can be the mom. I love that. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
So
no, it's an inspiration. No, I'm so glad you're willing to share with us, you know, the personal part of your life. I know I just put you on the spot there, but that's what it's about. That's what we're trying to do in the Empower Hour. It's really about empowerment. It's about saying you don't have to stay in the lane, the box, whatever it is that somebody told you. You damn sure don't have to do it because of a gender you were born into and had no selection over. It's just I don't accept that, and I encourage other people not to accept it. I just don't think that does a whole lot for women. If you want to do it, fine. Just know that it's not put upon you and you don't have to. But we've got to close. I could go forever, obviously. I want to go around to our panel and see if they have any closing remarks or questions for our lovely guest, Audra Pittman, Vice President of SCAD Atlanta. Let's start with Kia.
I just want to first say thank you. Number one, for the representation that you're showing my daughter, on top of, you know, me being a representation to her, because she actually picked up on art, and I really did not think that my daughter could draw. I thought she was going online and tracing, but she would not let me and her dad watch her. Her entire back wall behind her, you know, her bed is now full of just art. But she has, I'll send a picture. She literally wants to do like 10 different things. And this has really opened me up to let me know that she has an option to do so many different things. Because she loves science and math. You know,
industrial design. We have all the things. Listen, talk to me. We got all the programs.
Exactly. One of the things I asked her, and I was just being funny, and I'm a stop. But I was like, "Do you want to go into nursing?" She was like, "So I don't like medicine. So I'm thinking of interior design on top of this, on top of this, on top of this." And I think when she told my husband and I, she thought we were all going to say, "No, you can't do that." But we were like, "Oh, we support that. You can do all 20 of those things." But now that I know she has an option, it is really opening up my eyes to say, okay, I think you're going to be a dad now.
Oh, baby. We have summer programs. We have junior to senior year of high school, 5-star. It's like a 5-week rising star.
She
We
just
got
looks like a 17-year-old. She's only 11, but she looks like
Bring her to me. Just send it to me though.
That's awesome.
I sure will. So I thank you for this opportunity. And Dana, thank you for bringing her on.
Oh, yeah.
This has really opened up our eyes, and it's showing younger girls and even myself at almost 40, you know, reminding me that there are so many other opportunities that you can still continue to step into, and it's available, you know. So thank you so much for being on. We truly appreciate it. If there's any mentorships for, you know, younger girls so that we can get that out there as well, let us know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I bet Kia, I bet you never thought you'd be doing what you do for a law firm.
At all.
We've got an entire marketing department.
Yes,
Mhm.
I literally
It is.
thought I was
Yeah.
going to be a director at a news station, and then I was like, boom, I'm here. But it's so crazy how everything comes full circle, because I used to tell my parents I was going to go to law school, and now look at this.
Oh, wow.
But I was scared, and now that fear factor with me, that was that fear factor of taking that LSAT and everything else. I was like, no, I'll just go get my master's. No, I'll just go get my doctorate. Now I'm like here, so it's like,
There's no limit.
Sign at the sign.
You know, it's meant to be, you know, everything that happens. So I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be doing what I'm doing, because you also have my mind going in so many different ways. Like, so Audra, I'm gonna need your phone number because we're gonna be calling about a lot of
Call
things.
me. I
Like,
text all the
hey
things.
Audra, we're gonna need you here. Hey Audra, Dana's doing this, so I need you there with Dana. It's a lot.
And think about it. I mean, you're at a company, law firms don't traditionally think of like a marketing department
Not
and
at
marketing
all.
themselves in that way. Like, how smart and out of the box is that? So,
That is
you know, like, it
awesome.
all aligns. We're supposed to.
Exactly. This is awesome. But I took up a
We've
lot
got
of
what?
time. I apologize.
Oh, no, we've got what? 4
4 right now.
full-time marketing people,
Wow.
plus the people we outsource with, the professionals we outsource with. And again, the reason for that is because this is a business.
You gotta tell the story.
I don't care how good a lawyer you are, if you don't have clients,
Right.
nobody knows your name. So you've got to have the business, and you've got to run it like a business instead of, you know, a passion project. Because I love passion projects, but somebody's got to keep these lights on. You know, somebody's got to sign the front of the paycheck. Whitney, you are, you know, I've always talked about how much I love your art and everything that you've done, and I always want to encourage you in that. But you've kind of gotten into that. You're in business, you're in marketing. That's all part of the art/business world. But what are your final thoughts today as we wrap up?
Yeah, I'm in business, doing master's in business right now, and one of my biggest thoughts is really doing something creative, but also appealing. And then my marketing degree is kind of coming in and being like, how can we make this, you know, applicable to the masses? And now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll take some classes. I mean, I learned so much in this group or this meeting, because you know, I didn't know that you could take full courses that weren't a full degree, and I knew about the wide array of options there. I'm definitely going to look into it more, because I feel like I could definitely use a little bit more training in arts before I kind of make it my career. But it's definitely something I'm considering, and I'm so happy that you came on. Obviously,
Yeah. It's been a real gift for us, for you to be here, and I know how busy you are. So thank you for making time in this 1 hour. Carrie, what are your final thoughts today?
I mean, we have the vice president of SCAD, and I'm so freaking impressed with you, not only professionally, but personally, because you're proving to every woman and every little girl and every guy that watches this that you can be successful in the arts, you can be successful in business, you can be successful with a 2-family, 2-home marriage in 2 different cities. And you can be a successful mom, and you don't have to be in the traditional family sense. So that's my takeaway from this whole thing, is that there are so many different alternatives that can work for people. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Does everybody feel like this was a really empowering hour?
Yeah.
Like I'm in awe.
I can tell you the comments we've gotten, Audra. People are like,
Oh, I gotta
"This is
see.
This
Yeah.
is the best damn one."
Oh,
And I think it's just because, and that's what we're trying to do with the Empower Hour and the Empower Plan. We're trying to give women permission to think of things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And man, did we do that today. I'm overboard. I'm taking your time. Send me a bill.
You're fine.
No, don't. No.
Okay.
But thank you.
Thank y'all for having me.
I really mean it. Thank you. This has been
you.
eye-opening and encouraging. I think every one of us is going to leave here with 18 ideas at least. And just thank you for your generosity and sharing your email and being their moms when they go to college. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
I like to do a handoff mom to mom.
I know,
with
thank
my
you.
baby somewhere. I like a handoff. So thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Please stay in touch with us and we will keep following you and promoting
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all, everybody. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Thanks, Audra.
Thank you, Audra.
Bye. Thanks, Audra.